Here in Great Britain, we have always cherished our relationship with the United States of America. We shared music, films and television, fought alongside one another in many wars, some for the greater good, others not so. But in the light of Dark Souls 2 being available in America today, and not in the Queen's bedchamber, a list of America's crimes must be thrown like one of your Twinkies into the ravenous den of cake raccoons. Someone must bear these crimes and give up their copy of the game, which will be given to CJ. These crimes are thus the following pronunciations: aluminum, Laura Croft, caramel, as in also pecan, whore, as in, gee, do you like Silent Hill? Gosh, I think survival whore is just swell. Myrrh, as in the song, you're just a shell of your former you. A face in the mirror, oh that's you. The lady in question sounds like a cat being pulled through time. This must be accounted for. We call them chips, you call them fries. We call them crisps, you call them chips. We call them biscuits, you call them cookies. But what is it that you call biscuits? Are they a scone? I see them eaten with ham and gravy. Ham and gravy? Is this a code? We have no oil. Where are the missiles? Corn dogs. They're just wrong. Tab cola. Cereal with no cereal in it. Gosh, what would you like for breakfast, son? Gee, Dad, I'd like chocolate Dracula fudge pudding crunch flakes. Give me your Dark Souls early adopters. Account for your crimes. Welcome to Humanities, the second one in a matter of days. Thank you for all the people that have listened, that have retweeted, that have joined us on Twitter and smished into our various Twitter accounts as well, our personal ones. It's great to have you here. Tar for listening, Tar for being so kind. And we were a bit worried about that last one, that it might be taken the wrong way, because we were taking a few sort of pertinent questions and throwing them to the wolves. Our own wolves, everybody's wolves, and then trying to make dashing curtains of them.
Cool, blimey, governor.
You cheeky cockney monkey.
Oh, what day is it today? Why, it's Christmas Day.
Thanks for that, Dick Van Dyke.
It's all right.
Emphasis on the dick. Right, so Dark Souls 2 is now out in the Forbidden Lands, like Narnia and America. So it was yesterday. I kind of fell into a bit of a pit of despair, part way because I think I was being stroppy, and part way because I really don't have the game and it's affecting me a bit now. So last night I crashed on the sofa for a bit and tried to watch things that were funny, that the internet told me were funny but actually weren't funny, and then I nodded off for a bit and then tried to go to sleep and couldn't, but woke up to see all the reviews bursting out of Tet Interwebs and various uploads sort of kicking in on YouTube. And so we'll come to those a little bit. Patrick's here.
Hello.
I'm talking lots.
It's okay. You had a nice flow. I was enjoying it. I'm quite willing to take the back seat for a bit because my face still hurts from the intro. So
Even flow.
Ew.
So the good part about last night was, even before those reviews kicked in, was a gentleman called Chris Span of the Recycle Bin podcast has been working tremendously hard getting various folks who adore Dark Souls,
Like us.
from across the net, certainly, and talking to them about their favourite aspects of the game, and these sort of 15, 20, 25-minute sections are then woven together in the most glorious jumper. And I listened to it last night. Somebody called Patrick Smith started it off.
Who's he?
No idea.
Okay.
Sounds ginger.
I know, right? You can sort of tell.
You can sort of tell. And so our Pat does a cracking bit on the start. Andy Hamilton does a piece on Artorias and lore, which is really brilliant. Laura Rich does a wonderful soliloquy at the end. Is that the right use?
Perhaps soliloquy. Yeah, I think you're on the right word there.
I don't know. I'm trying to sound posh. My brain's going sort of. Can we have a look in the dictionary?
So there's a wonderful barometer at the end.
Yeah. There's a gentleman I wasn't familiar with, AJ from Arcadian Rhythms, who does a cracking little bit. Michael Fox, formerly of Joypod, just a fantastic bit about
the transition from Demons to Dark, isn't it?
Yeah. And then our brothers from another mother across a pond in another country, Gary Butterfield and Cole Ross, do a slice of cherry pie.
Do you mean in the land of the enemy?
Yes. America.
Still hurts.
No, that didn't work very well. But,
no. Moving on.
So episode 2's coming up in a little while, so that should be up soon. But I know Chris hasn't been very well, and he's been working incredibly hard on this, and it's quite an undertaking to come together. So well played, Jam.
Yeah, thumbs up, Chris. It was a pleasure being on as well. You're a lovely chap to talk to.
But please have a listen. Last night, in my sort of well of despair, I was playing Dark Souls whilst trying not to think about the sequel to Dark Souls, whilst listening to a podcast about Dark Souls. But it was brilliantly entertaining.
Something tells me that might not be the best way to avoid thinking about Dark Souls.
Like a circle in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never-ending or beginning, like a never-spinning wheel, like a snowball down a mountain, like a carnival balloon, never...
well done. I don't know the words to that. Well done.
Like the circles that you find in the windows of your mind.
That was so yeah, if you have ears, head on to. You can find his podcast. It's Recycle Bin Podcast. Find him on Twitter at Recycle Bin Pod, or I think on Tumblr, tumblr.com/Recycle Bin Podcast.
.tumblr.com. Yeah, if you put Recycle Bin Podcast into Google, it smashes it up as choice number 2, with choice number 1 being said gentleman's Twitter. Yes,
and in other podcast news, you called me a dirty hussy for playing away from the field with another man, but you've played away from the field with 3 other men. So,
but I loved none of them.
Yeah.
It was only sex.
So for those of you not in the know, my pal CJ here got to guest on the quite possibly wonderful, fabulous, amazing Kane and Rinks podcast. What I think is probably one of the smartest podcasts about gaming on the internet.
I funking love Kane and Rinks. I proper do, governor.
Yeah, and they let you go on and they let you talk about Dark Souls. Now, I've listened to the first...
No, sir.
Demon Souls.
They let me talk about Demon Souls.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, it must be so tiring playing Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, it should be mentioned at this point that I have had it since we recorded our last podcast, and I wasn't allowed to say so until today.
Poor little CJ has none.
Oh, so many things we can talk about, but no.
No.
But yes, Kane and Rinks. You can find them on the Twitter, Kane and Rinks. I think it's kaneandrinks.com. They're very easy to find, and you should go and listen to it. And you'll find a treasure trove of possibly the smartest, most interesting game discussion you'll find out there. Most in-depth one I've ever listened to. Thumbs up, everybody. Your thumbs sound weird.
So yeah, but back to Dark Souls 2. Yeah, there is apparently differences between versions. So if you're torn between as to whether to get 360 or PS3, the understanding I've got is the 360 version is a little faster, but has a few tears in it.
Yes, definitely.
And the PS3 one is slower, but maintains its frame rate.
I have noticed the lighting's a little bit less good than I remember from the beta, but that could just be my stupid eyes.
I don't know. There was a there are often sort of differences in looks of games, which are more startling than you might think. I remember on Dragon's Dogma, the PS3 version was very black. You couldn't see that much further beyond a certain point, but the colours were really vibrant. Whereas the 360 version was more of a watercolour palette. It seemed, and you could see further into it. And in that case, the PS3 version was slower but had V-syncing, and the 360 version tore like a bit of a beast, but was far more responsive.
I have noticed some slight tears, but the frame
slight tears are neither here nor there. It sounds like there's not really that much between the two. It's really sort of how many. Go with which pad you like most, and how many of your mates that you've got on that particular system.
And everyone as well, when choosing your platform, know this is that it doesn't slow down because there are more than one enemy on screen. Blighttown doesn't happen again, or if it does, I haven't got to a bit where it happens yet. I've not noticed any. I've had a fair few enemies on screen. I did a bit of a test and I ran around and just aggroed everything I could, and it was butter smooth still. Like it kept its frame rate. I died, but it was a good test.
Well, furthermore to the notion of getting the game on the platform that you've got the most friends on, something which is, I don't even know if it's a mechanic, but it's not a spoiler, but was in Andy Hamilton's review, which I thought was ace, was that there's a ring that you can inscribe with the name of a god, and if one of your friends has also got that ring and is inscribed with the name of the same god, you'll meet up far more easily.
Yes, and that ring is easy to acquire as well.
Fantastic.
They don't hide it. You can just go to a shop and buy it.
But leading into that, Andy Hamilton, that was on Chris Spann's podcast and was talking about lore, has done the review on Video Gamer. It's spoiler-free. It's a corking read. And frankly, I trust Andy massively. So it's a belting read. It's not going to ruin your view of the game. If anything, it's just going to make you more giddy.
Yep. I read that one shortly before we started recording. Yeah, so far I agree with everything he said.
It's shit hot.
Yeah, shit hot.
Aye. So yeah, the reviews hit the net last night.
The Review-pocalypse.
Yeah, and there's been some more that have cracked in since then. But I was looking on. Saw a link on NeoGAF to the review thread, and I don't think it's got everything on there, but we've got 10 out of 10 from CVG, 10 out of 10 from Video Gamer, Gamer 3...
Gamer 3... Polygon I know of?
Yeah, Gamer 365 in Hungary, 10 out of 10. Game Informer, 9.75 out of 10. OzGamers 9.6 out of 10, Famitsu 9, 10, 9, 9, M exclamation mark Games 90%, IGN 9 out of 10, GameSpot 9 out of 10, Destructoid 9 out of 10, as you said, Polygon 9 out of 10, Eurogamer 9 out of 10, Edge 9 out of 10.
That's a good score from an Edge.
Gamer Reactor Spain 9 out of 10. Press Start 9 out of 10. OPM UK 9 out of 10. Pixel Enemy 9 out of 10. Metro Newspaper 9 out of 10. EGM 8.5 out of 10. OXM 8 out of 10. The Guardian 5 out of 5. That was Simon Parkin's
I thought
review.
you were going to say 5 out of 10 there.
No, when I was just looking down earlier on, and like with bleary eyes, I was like 5. Oh, out of 5. US Gamer 5 out of 5. Games Radar 4.5 out of 5. Escapist 4.5 out of 5. Hardcore Gamer 4.5 out of 5. Rev3 4 out of 5, and Kotaku gave it a yes. So that's stonking.
That's
I genuinely didn't think that there was going to be that kind of reaction across the board. And whilst I've been trying to avoid spoilers and just really looking at the closing comments, everybody seems to have really got it. A lot of people think that it's refined a lot of the mechanics in Dark Souls, and that the general feeling is that it's either just as good or better than the previous game, and you can't really say better than that. That's amazing.
Yeah, because let's be fair, we're all quite crazy here. So I think we were always going to be loving of it, but critical. Little things that would stand out, would make you, why can't you do that? But even coming from because I sort of tried to look at it with a really critical eye. I've not written my review yet, but I'm nowhere near ready yet. But I've tried to pick out things I didn't like, and even early on, things I didn't like became things I liked, like that, and then it clicks. And I think the tone I've got from a lot of the reviews so far is that it's easier to get into, but the ending, but it's harder, if that makes sense. There is a path you can follow, which I didn't follow. Apparently, I went completely the wrong way. But it's an easier beginning. You can learn the mechanics a bit easier. There's an entirely optional tutorial area you can just run past if you feel like it. It doesn't force that down your throat. You can just go, right, see ya, moving on, and just crack on past. But then it ramps up and it gets legitimately a bit harder as you go on. I frequently run into walls of meat, shall we say, that I'm not skillful or leveled up enough to go to. So you just turn around and go somewhere else. And I think a lot of this is, again, a lot of the reviews have pointed this part out, is that because you can now warp between bonfires whenever you want, like boom, warp, and every bonfire is warpable. It allows them to spread out a bit and kind of stretch out the worlds and not have them linked together in the way that Lordran was, which was still brilliant. But it allows them to spread out, and it really, really encourages you that if you get stuck, just try something else. I can't do this. Walk back to something you did before. Try that.
But isn't that
brilliant?
One of the sort of big lessons that Dark Souls has always shared? There was a piece on the Mecha Gamezilla sort of Christmas piece where it says that games have conditioned you that dying is a bad thing, but here it's just, why don't you try it again, but try it a little bit differently. It's not a put down. It's a rethink of everything that games have taught you over the last God knows how many years. Yeah,
I mean, and what I've noticed as well, I've not seen anyone else say this in their reviews. For me, so far, it feels like the perfect blend of Demons and Dark. It feels like a mixture of the two in a really good way. All the stuff that worked from Demons, all the stuff that worked from Dark, just smushed together, and it fucking works really well.
There was a baffling quote on Gaff early on that I couldn't quite get my head around, which is somebody saying the likes of Demon Souls was a rough sketch that should have been cast aside, or in view of Dark. I can't remember. I don't think I'll be able to find it on the fly. But I was like, what? Because that was, I mean, the brief time that I had with the previewer about a month ago was there were elements of Demons that were put in that worked.
Yeah, you can sort of, when you arrive in Medulla, which is the island sort of center save point, which we've spoken about before, it almost feels, you'll get that sort of home feeling like you do when you go back to the Nexus. It's like, this is my safe place.
Mm-hmm.
This is where all my friends are. It's beautiful. I want to stand here and look at it for a while. I'm just going to sit here for a while and enjoy it before picking another direction and going out a different way. And I like as well is that the level structure, from what I've seen, follows something more akin to Demons than Dark. In that you've got multiple paths, you can go what way you want. You're not stuck to going, right, the first few levels are this, then it opens up. Like, you can just go, right, I'm going to go there, I'm going to go there. And you kind of learn what areas are above your station by just going to them. Whereas Demons had them like, 1-1, 1-2, 1-3. It's more that you just go to a place and you see what is in the place, and if you can beat it, great. And if you can't, then, come back later. Mark it on the map and come back later. There is no map, by the way. There's just a mental map that I think, right, I've not beaten that, but I can do that. As well, I mean, the White Knights you encounter quite early as well, which you've probably seen in the preview, the one that sits by the tree and just watches and waits for you and watches you fight. Oh, the fights against those, without spoiling anything, do them. Beat them. Take forever if you have to. Beat them. Beat them. It's worth it. It's so goddamn worth it. And you'll find, I've been playing the game for about 20 hours, I think, now. I've seen 2, including that one at the front.
Well, I know that Andy Hamilton had said that he played about 20 hours of the game, and at 20 hours he was told that he was less than a quarter of the way through. But Chris Carter of Destructoid finished the game in 35 hours. And I know on the gaff thread that I was pouring through earlier, people were saying, "Oh, it's about the same as Dark Souls." Then and I was thinking, I went way over 100 on my first playthrough.
Yeah,
I knew balls all. I mean, it might have trimmed down drastically sort of thereafter, but I know there's always a part of me that goes, has that been rushed? If it's sort of 35 hours.
I think there's a lot you can skip if you're not, if you're that inclination, there's a lot you can just run past.
I mean, I don't
especially
know,
on a boss run.
I don't know sort of Chris Carter's sort of work. He seems to be sort of quite popular, but I don't know his stuff generally. So
he might just be unholy good at it,
I mean, the one thing that I saw earlier was I think we can easily say that Rev 3 games have always been kind of a little bit scathing about Dark Souls. Adam Sessler said previously that he sort of sneered that he doesn't have time for Dark Souls and that it should be easier. And elsewhere on the channel, there was a defense of BioShock Infinite before Christmas, and they were saying, well, I think that there are certain people that are attacking it now who are probably Dark Souls fans. It was something along those lines, and I was thinking, like, what if there's anything that Dark Souls fans are attacking BioShock Infinite for, it's because we've been treated to a far higher class of story, and I generally, I mean, with one or two exceptions, I don't think it's a fan base in particular that's attacking BioShock Infinite, but I do find it baffling that they can continually return to twat at Dark Souls whilst pouring everlasting lube over something like BioShock Infinite, which for me absolutely doesn't deserve it. But it's probably convenient because they can get it out of the way and move to the next game. But on the latest Sessler's something, there's one on Dark Souls 2 and the culture surrounding hard games. And whilst Sessler says that Dark Souls 2 he thinks is more about patience, which is a little bit of a sidestep. He then goes on to attack games like Ninja Gaiden, where he says that are sort of all inclusive for people that play those games and to kind of and then have a go at other people because they're not good enough for it. And whilst I don't know the fan base for Ninja Gaiden, to turn that around to Dark Souls, I actually think we're a pretty fucking welcoming community. I mean, the amount of people that I've gone, don't be put off by all this brutal difficulty bullshit. Just sit yourself in front of it. Balls to all of the information. Don't ask anybody what you should do. Sit down and see where it moves you. We've all been conditioned by games having markers and leanings this way and that way. Just do what feels right. Trust your instincts and see what happens, because it's kind of life affirming for most of us. And there's that degree of wanting other people to experience something that's genuinely made us look at games in a different way. And wanting them in, and you know, the fact that there's so much lore and there's so much accessibility and playthroughs and all that kind of gubbins. It's a good community here, and I would never want even the slight intimation or to rudely sellotape Dark Souls onto musing about fan bases being all inclusive and shitey, because it's not the case. Fucking hell, we bow before fights.
Yeah.
So yeah, whilst it's a piece made and then sidestepped a little bit in the middle. The feeling I got was he was making his point anyway, but gluing Ninja Gaiden onto it instead of going full out for Dark Souls. But yeah, but sort of on a nicer topic, when I woke up last night and I looked at Twitter, Varty was beaming that he was going to put out 6 videos in 24 hours.
I saw that.
Good man.
Crackers.
I mean, we mused on the previous one that it seemed that Varty was kind of chomping at the bit a little bit to get going. And the first video he put up was a retrospective on Dark Souls, and I kind of lay in bed and watched that and just fucking beamed. It was really, really warming, and this real degree of kind of almost like, thanks a lot, Dark Souls. You know, after how far we've come with it, and the various battles and tales that have been told and stuff, it just left a little ache in my heart. And I know we're moving on to new characters, new creatures, new horizons, all that kind of stuff. It was just this sort of it's a little lump in my throat a little bit, and a suitable send-off for something that's incredibly special for all of us. He also put out a new mechanics you need to know, which was great. There was something that I knew with regards to you have to pull down on ladders now to slide down them, rather than you have
to hold the circle button.
Yeah, but
don't tap it.
If you tap it, you fall off. But there's a way of sprinting up ladders as well now.
Which I didn't know.
No, I didn't even. Varty goes through sort of a few sort of cool mechanics which aren't really explained. So a definite watch, and sort of spoiler free as well.
It's a good place to find some clang mechanics news.
Oh, are you inserting mechanics news in there?
Well, yeah, I'm basically just cut and pasting directly from that video, because that's where I learned most of it. But I've got 1 or 2 extra bits.
So you are going to give credit. Well played.
Yeah, I am going to give credit.
Mechanics news.
Mechanics news. Clang. Clang. Clang.
She's ready to roll. Drive her home, John.
Put a new carburetor on her.
What? Where's your guy from?
I have no idea.
An expat American that's moved to Bristol?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, mechanics news. Obviously, a whole bunch of videos are going up. Varty's in particular is where I pulled a bit from, but I've learned a few little bits myself from from bollocking around, testing things out. Most importantly, dual wielding. You'll know that if you tap triangle with 2 weapons out, you will 2-hand the one in your right hand. But now there's a way of doing it so you can 2-hand the one in your left hand. So if you tap triangle, you'll do what you normally do. You'll put your shield away and hold your sword. If you hold triangle, it will put your sword away and hold your shield, or whatever you happen to have in your left hand, which really, really opens up the 2 weapon stuff. So it doesn't force you to kind of have all your offensive stuff on your right hand and all your defensive stuff on your left hand. You can really mix up, where you want your gear to be, and you can take more than 4 swords around if you really want to. So that's fun, particularly as well for the dual wielders. If you're holding a pair of weapons that are either the same or quite similar, so I found it work with things that are quite similar. If you tap triangle, again, you'll just put one away and hold one in 2 hands. If you hold triangle, you'll go into a dual wielding stance, where you'll kind of put both both daggers or swords or whatever you have to hold. You'll sort of put them forward a bit and sort of ready them up. Tapping on the right shoulder button will just do sort of normal attacks. Tapping on the left shoulder button will do some awesome sort of double attack combinations. I noticed this with knives you can do quite quickly. I haven't noticed that all combinations work. Like I tried with a pair of swords and I couldn't get it to do anything interesting.
Wasn't Varty saying on his vid that if it's not working for you, you've probably not got the stats? But
it might be dex based. I'm not sure.
The dual stance was based on exact weapons, wasn't it, in both hands?
Well, I've tried it out with a dagger and a sword.
All right.
And that seemed to work with the dagger in the offhand and the sword in the main hand, and I was able to get a couple of double hitting moves from a single button press. So time will tell how that plays out.
Well, there was a cool one on there with regards to breaking the shield guard. If you hit a shield a number of times, it will break guard.
Yep.
And then you can go into a finishing animation when they're on the floor. But if you attack beforehand, you'll do damage, but the enemy will get up straight away, and it's like, that's really cool.
It's cool. It rewards you taking your time and being patient.
Yeah, Varty goes into the full cat and caboodle on it. So, yash.
And one more piece of mechanics news. Clang, clang. Did you know that very, very early in the game, in Majula, in fact, there is a way of making the game way harder? There is a way of making the game, apparently, almost New Game Plus levels of hard right out the bat. And it is in the form of a covenant. I think it's called the Covenant of Champions. And it's no secret. You can find it within 5 seconds of getting to Majula. You sort of go around a little mountain path, there's a big stone, you think, what's that? It's like, oh, do you want to join a covenant? You're like, yeah. So you join it, and you head out into the world. And the world kicks you in the arse. It's like walking straight into New Game Plus. If you are brave, and you think you're that good, by all means, go for it. But you don't have to. And if you do make a silly decision with covenants, there is a way of managing your covenants. Again, at Majula, there's an NPC you can talk to, and you can see where you are, like what rank you're at with the covenants, or which ones you've joined, which one you're part of, and it's a really easy way of maintaining where they all are and what each one is. Because oftentimes you can forget about things like Grave Lords, for instance, from Dark Souls 1. Who Grave Lorded? No one did. But having it there, oh yeah, Grave Lord, yeah, I'm gonna try that. It's cool having it there so you can just see it and without having it being hidden and being a bit obscure. And that sort of leads back into, the game being much easier to get into, because it does a good job of explaining its mechanics without saying, this is how this works, this is how that works. Mega Man, shoot the guy. You can learn them just by observing what's in front of you. And they're presented in a very clear, very obvious way. And it's brilliant as well. It's worth talking as well. As I said, mechanics news. There's one last piece of mechanics news regarding death. Now, most of you will know when you die, you drop your souls and you lose a little chunk of health, which is fairly common knowledge at this point, I think. Getting your bloodstain, as long as you've not got too many souls, isn't actually as important, I've found. Simply because there is no humanity pickup. So if you had 5 or 6 humanity on Dark Souls, and you drop them in the boss room, I don't know about you, but the first thing I'd do is make a beeline right for that bloodstain and pick them back up, because if humanity is quite hard to come by in the early game. there is no humanity here. So if you've lost 200 souls, there is no point running back into that big fight just to get them back. Absolutely no reason to. You can cut your losses and move on with absolutely no, I wouldn't say penalty, but no severe losses. Again, particularly in case of humanity. And it's quite liberating to look at an area and go, you know what? No, I don't need to go back in there. I don't need the heartbreak. I'm just going to move on.
Well, there's the interesting thing that Andy Hamilton pointed out, that I think it's if you're running through an area after the 12th time, the enemies that you've killed previously disappear.
That is per enemy from what I've observed.
But if you want to reignite the bonfire and kind of make them harder again, you can burn an effigy there and sort of. So that's an interesting one. But
yeah, it's one I've not experimented with yet because I've quite liked having easier boss runs.
But it's kind of cool that it's there though. I wasn't sure what I thought about that at first, but
well, I discovered it by accident. Only upon doing a standard run, I was fighting a boss who you might have seen in the pre-release called the Pursuer.
No, I've seen Mike McWhirter tweet about the Pursuer, so just in name form, but
that's all I'll say. No
spoilers, please.
No spoils. But on the run to fighting the Pursuer, it's quite a tricky run. Like, you know how spear guys can be an absolute pain in the dick when they want to be, with their shield up and they'll just turtle behind the shield, and they can be a pain in the goddamn arse. And I was getting a bit frustrated because it's not an easy run. And you don't have much Estus or healing at that point, and it's quite a hard run. And then, like, after the, it must have been 12th or 13th time, I sort of ran to the bit I was expecting, kind of, went to kite them out from around the corner like I usually do, and they'd gone. And I was like, what? I didn't know they'd remove. I was thinking, where have they gone? Where have they? Oh my god, it's like Christmas. Where have they gone? And that, I think it applies per enemy, because ones later on were still there. And then after a while, they vanished as well. I fought the Pursuer a few times, let's just say that much. But it's really, again, I didn't know how to feel about it. I wasn't sure if it was, oh no, ruining it. No, you've got to, fight everything every time. You've got to, do it properly. And I thought, well, hang on, I've done this a million times now. Why wouldn't it be just a quick short run? Why wouldn't you have cleaned an area out completely of dudes? And it's really, you get a strange feeling walking through an area that you've, fought tooth and nail to get through, and then you're just sort of strolling through with it quiet and empty and lonely. It's very strange, very, very strange. But I like it because it does take away a little bit of the crush of that goddamn boss run, which I think Dark Souls does have problems with sometimes. I think Anor Londo's a good one for that. Getting to Ormstein and Smough without using Weir Estus sometimes is hard. And this does level the playing field a little bit, and it lets you take on a boss with, your fresh out of the bonfire strength, which is like, it's actually really nice. Like, you go in without knowing that you have to, fight really conservatively on the way in, and if you have to use an Estus, you have to go back to the bonfire and try again. You can just, crack on, and it really encourages you to keep pressing, because I think the game, it wants you to beat it. It wants you to beat things. It wants you to do well. And I think just removing a few enemies is just a nice little help for players that aren't getting through it, and it really knocks that frustration away, because you think, oh well, if I keep going, if I keep dying, then the route will be a bit easier, and I can fight the boss a little bit stronger, and if I keep plugging away, it'll be easy. I mean, the bosses are still hard, don't get me wrong, but the slog there has been reduced, and I welcome it. I think it's good.
I'll have to let's see proof of the pudding, I guess. But I suppose there's the other side of that, where you start to wonder if they're losing a little bit of Dark Soulsiness because of it. But I'll have to see when I get my mitts on it.
Well, it's a similar sort of thing to Devil May Cry 3. I think if you start the game up and you die like 4 times before the first boss, it's almost like, do you want to do a bit easier? Do you want an easy mode? Yeah. Do you want an easy mode? Yeah, please. But of course, the downside of having the enemies taken away is you can't then grind them.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
And it pulls that away again. So you can't just go through, find a lucrative area and just farm. It's not there anymore. You have to actually, push forward to get the big rewards, or co-op, which I haven't done yet because the servers aren't on in England.
Which they're still not up.
They're still not up, man. I have been running around on my own for the last 20 hours, unable to summon any help of any kind. It's been a very lonely existence. And oftentimes I felt like things weren't doable with just me. Like, I'm thinking, how the fuck am I going to beat this? Like, it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. And then it clicks, and then you get it, and you can beat things without summons in this. You can do it. And the game gives you ways of doing it. There's a couple of kick yourself in the arse moments that you'll do and think, oh my god, why didn't I do that before? Actually, my other half, Laura, pointed one of them out. Like, why didn't you do that? And I did it. And it's like, oh my god. And, having someone watch actually is quite good. If you can have someone watch you play it at the start, they will probably get a lot out of it as well. Both in terms of, it's funny to watch a friend die and watch them get frustrated, but it's also nice having someone to chat about the lore with as well. And again, not getting into any of that because this is Spoiler Town, USA.
Yeah, don't go there, otherwise I'll come all the way down to Portsmouth and punch you in the nuts.
Oh, what a lovely visit. But as you're moving through the world, you're, in the same way that Dark Souls did, you're learning about the place, not because people are saying, oh, this is the place where the war happened, and then the so-and-so people did this.
You're just so-and-so people.
The so-and-so people of Somewhere Town. Didn't you know about the so-and-so people of Somewhere Town?
I did not.
Oh, dude, they're dicks.
Much to my chagrin.
Chagrin. But you're, again, in the way that Dark Souls does, you're going around and you're observing things, and you're thinking, well, what's that? And, oh, is that? And, oh, what's that over there? And, oh, wow, what's this going on? And the world just tells a story just by existing. And the enemies that are there tell a story by the places they are. In the same way you can, for example, Seath in Dark Souls, you can really pull lots of little threads of lore together by just working out where channelers are. So why is a channeler there? Why is there a channeler over here? What's Seath got interested over here? And you can sort of pull together motivations and threads. And I've just realised I'm doing the thread motion with my hands and no one can see. It's that, again. You can think, well, why are you here? Why are you here? What are you doing here? What's this now? And I can't wait for the YouTube lore guys to get their hands on it. I really can't. Because there's some bits I'm baffled about. Utterly baffled.
I get the feeling sort of... a few of them have probably got a few bits in wait, I'd say. Probably first amongst them, Epic Namebro, because obviously he's well-versed and guide written.
Help write the goddamn guide. Yeah. I mean, what more do you want?
There's a really cool video that went up, I think Sunday night here, from Dave Klein, which was Prepare to Wait.
Yes.
And it was Dave, Terramantis, Silvermont, Dreaded Cone, John Quick, Hellkite Drake, Varty, a German spy, and Epic Namebro. And it was belting. It was really funny.
The things we do while we wait.
No, I thought it was a really well pieced together video, and I can see that Dave has got his first Let's Play of Dark Souls up, which is mocking me. Because I do like Dave's stuff, but I can't watch that yet. No. So I get the feeling there's going to be a bit of that. A few... Hellkite Drake has got some unused content dialogue.
Already?
Yeah, and Dark Souls 2 16-bit first boss spoiler. So I think you'll be alright to check that out. But there was one from Big Head Demon... on Twitter, who on YouTube is Video Game Talking Head, and there was a video which was, let me see, it's entitled When I See My Feed Getting Filled with Dark Souls 2 Videos, and you just click on it and it's just like 15 seconds of him standing next to Barty and then them high-fiving like the Wonder Twins. So yeah, there's that, but it seems like There's loads of stuff that's starting to burst out. I'm really, really excited to see what Varty's got planned for the rest of the day, which is a little bit mental. Rurikon basically hasn't got his copy yet. He lives in Portugal. All right for some. and he's hoping his is arriving tomorrow. And I believe I asked Sunlight Blade if Namco UK had looked after him, because they they haven't me.
No.
But Namco US appear to have looked after the big guns over there, and no surprise to anyone at all that he's been sent a copy by Namco US.
Amazing.
So it's not arrived yet, and
we know who to ask next time.
Yeah, well, Jay Carty's the man. So yeah, but also something that was figured out today, because there was Veselikov and Big Head Demon and a number of others that were on Twitter this morning, kind of going out of their mind like I was.
Yeah.
And then somebody pointed out, why don't you get an American account, get some US PSN cards, and download the digital US version?
Oh dear.
What? I think it's so, because Big Demon is in Australia, and Australia is Thursday, I believe. So yeah, if you've got a PS3 and you're incredibly excited, I think it's PlayAsia do US PSN cards. It works out. I looked on XE Currency Converter, and it works out about 36 quid.
It's not bad.
So yeah, I mean, so if you want it and you're not bothered about the physical edition or the extra gubbins, it's a good way of getting the game sort of instantly. I kind of stared at it and was thinking, because I've got the statue version ordered on PS3 and the Black Armor ordered on 360. I was thinking, if I got that the other way round, I might even be tempted to just delve in and do it that way. But it's a good way of doing it if you're in Australia or the EU and you're crawling up the wall like I am.
You can't wait 2 days.
I can't wait any longer. Jesus Christ, that level of depression I went through last night was crazy.
Well, it brings us back nicely again, just to something I mentioned on our last show about watching YouTube reviews and things. From the couple of videos I've seen so far, don't watch them, is my top tip. If you want to go in blind, do not watch them. There's a couple I've seen. Polygon's one has a couple of spoilers in it that, while not considered spoilers, have not been featured in any of the press release, like pre-release stuff. And I'm glad that I got to experience them before watching that.
I was going to say,
because I'd have been pissed off.
I've avoided any video reviews whatsoever, but as I understand it, the GameSpot one is like spoiler soup. Yeah.
So I would say avoid them, and also probably avoid comment threads where those video reviews are, because again, I've seen people comment on the things in the video. You're like, stop talking, you're ruining it.
So it's a case of, I think, having to go a little bit dark for a while. I'm even well done.
Hey.
But it's strange, because as I'm seeing it tonight, Chris Bratz and Jim on Video Gamer have got a live stream coming up later, which obviously I've played
that's
through.
Really hard. Why would have? Oh God, that's really depressing.
I've obviously played like a couple of hours of it, and I presume the stuff that they're going to go through is stuff that I've seen. Yet, when I go through it, I want to be on my own couch now. I want to have the curtains drawn. I want to have the sound up on my own telly. I want the room to be dark, and I want to be, pun intended again, and I want to be launching into it myself. And tomorrow, CVG's doing a playthrough tonight, and I've got a world of time for tomorrow. I think he's awesome. But again, I'm not sure.
It's that terrible dichotomy. You want to watch it, but you don't want to watch it.
Honest to God. So it's gonna. I'm kind of in a strange place from here. It's double exciting to see all the reviews coming out and see all the content that's coming out from people that I genuinely admire. But I'm a little bit reticent, because of being on the cusp of it and not wanting to sully any of those early choices that I make with, I don't know, excess information.
It's the discovery as well. I think a lot of the fun is discovering things yourself, because they might go through areas and find bits you haven't seen. I'm almost certain from our chat last time we talked, that might have been on the podcast or not, there's something you might have missed incredibly early on, and I wouldn't want, again, it's cool to discover these things. It's cool to have the moment yourself, not watch someone else having the moment. Perfect example, Dark Souls. I watched a couple of videos before I played it, as you do, and when the Asylum Demon, when you're stood above him and he jumps up and smashes you down, I knew that was going to happen. I'd seen it on a video, but to have that happen in real life without any prompt would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I would have crapped my pants. And Dark Souls 2 has quite a few of those kind of moments where you're like, I want that to happen to me. And again, I think this is where I've benefited from having to play offline and playing Dark before the release. I'm not allowed to talk about it because I can't look for advice. There's no help anywhere. I'm just learning by doing.
Well, there's a duality here of obviously when the servers go up, it's probably a different animal this time, because the invasion mechanic is really a dominant part of the game now, rather than being able to avoid it by being hollow as you were in the previous one. So whereas on my original Dark Souls playthrough, it was mainly kind of without any of the online stuff really kicking in, like the summoning or anything like that. It was just hunker down, wear all of the cutlery, grab a fire door and press on. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see if it how much things change once the servers do go up. Plus, the reviews that are going up now are going up without that there, as far as
a lot of them have all mentioned, the multiplayer just isn't there yet. And the ones that have had a bit have played, either played the beta or played, closed events with some of that in. But I mean, especially for, because I'm playing and the servers are offline. Like, I don't know how it's going to work yet. I mean, I don't know how often you're going to get invaded. I don't know how well the Blue Sentinel thing works. I've not found half of the Covenants yet. Not even barely 2 or 3 in 20 hours I've found.
But, I mean, somebody said on, I think it was the Gaff thread, that I think it might be Game Trailers, have said that have put out the review of Dark Souls without really testing out the online aspects, yet have delayed their review of Titanfall because of the servers. Or the other way around. And
it's a strange one, isn't it? Because Titanfall seems to be, because it's only multiplayer, really, isn't it? Whereas Dark Souls, you can play offline. It's an extra bit, whereas Titanfall is just multiplayer.
But still, it's
tricky. It's a hard
one. It's a component, and you've got to look at those 9s that are cracking out on the net now, and sort of wonder, well, have you really sort of done anything with the online? Are you reviewing it? It's an incredibly high mark anyway, but are you reviewing it with the spectre of an amplified version of the summoning mechanics from the previous game, and just sort of musing how it would work, which is something that Matt Lees had mentioned in the video that we spoke about previously, where he's saying, like, you have to kind of, sometimes because you're using earlier code, you have to imagine how something is going to work on launch day.
Definitely,
you have to go there to try and give the best review you've got. So, yeah, I'm curious, and it'll be interesting to see. Polygon's reviews are set up for them to monkey with a score, for better or for worse. But it'll be interesting if there's perhaps separate articles from various websites talking about the online component once it gets going, and also with it being dedicated servers, just how bonkers is it going to be, or even if is that going to detract from the main game a little bit? I'm curious.
I think at the start, I think at the very, very start, the first couple of days, I think it's going to be Happy Sunshine Rainbow Town. Because again, it's not a spoiler to say this. In the 20 odd hours I've played, I've not found the Red Invasion Covenant yet. I've not found it, and I've been looking. Well, I know it's around here. Like, and you get a feeling, is it maybe in here? And no, it's not in there. And, ooh, could this be guy? No, it's not that guy. So I've been looking for it, and I can't find it yet. So, I mean, and I've found other covenants that involve online interaction, so it's not the fact it's offline that's stopping it, it's the fact that I've just not found it. So I reckon there's going to be a couple of days where it's going to be all sunshine, happy, and just summon bros. Just pals and friends panning around. And I think after maybe a week, after about a week, I think that's where invasions start. I think that's where it turns on and it's real. So if you want to get through the game without being invaded, quickly is probably the best way. You use your speed. But I could be completely wrong. You could boot up the game, get 5 seconds in and then, hello, giant troll man invades you. Which by the time I played the first Dark Souls was certainly the case. Playing it a good year after it came out, it was not fun, but being at the start, it's a weird time, it's formative. I'm sort of electric on the enemy fingertips, wanting to see how it's going to play. And that awful thing of, am I going to be a bastard? Because I've got a bit of a jump ahead of the curve here.
You could say, because I have got a bit of bastard in my makeup.
Well, I do,
Or as you say, bastard.
Being of the red-headed persuasion, we've got a lot of pent-up anger. And where I've got a bit of a jump ahead of the curve, I'm wondering if I shouldn't go and have some fun invading while everyone else is defenceless. Does that make me evil for wanting to capitalise while I still can?
Do it.
Yep. Step 1, find the invasion covenant. But yeah, hopefully I'll find it soon. And again, I'm trying my best to avoid all walkthroughs and spoilers. And I know there's a few videos up online. For the love of God, don't watch them.
I'll tell you what I am going to watch. I'm going to watch some beauty. I'm probably going to watch about 10 of people unboxing the statue edition. As if I'm just forming a window in time.
Yeah.
And just because that I can dribble at, because I need that statue in my life.
Yeah, totally. I think you're allowed to do that, and I think I want to look at the map as well. But yeah, I think as far as spoilers go, I would say use the same system that I use for Dark Souls, which is only look up about an area once you've cleared it. Once you've beat an area through, and you've moved on a bit, I think it's okay to then look back and think, well, what else could I have done there? What else could I have missed? And then, I've missed this. I've missed that. And that's how I played the first one, and I was, it was better because of it. But I'd probably say give it a couple of weeks, delve in, see what you can find first, and only if you're, unfathomably stuck, I think, should you look for help. But even then, I've been fucking clawing my freaking hair out at certain times, not sure where to go or what to do. I was lost for 2 hours, just unsure. There was a wall of meat here, there was a wall of meat there, and I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I was starting to despair slightly, and you just keep exploring, and then you'll get it, and you'll feel smart when you do work out what to do. So
I think we've come to the end of today's Twin Humanities. Hope you've enjoyed it on the cusp of the American release and just after, and hopefully we should do some more stuff. I'd say it'd be ace to do some more stuff towards the end of the week when the game's actually out as well.
I think we could do that.
Yeah, I think so. And to give a shout out to Wayne, who's Guernica2 on Twitter, who enjoyed the Stig of the Dump reference that I put into a previous podcast. I am going to herald the end of this one with a quote from Kez, which was, "Hands off cocks, on socks." So thank you very much for joining us today. We'll see you again soon. I'm CJ, and this is my boy Paddy. And
I would like to sign off with a quote, but I haven't found out the quote yet. Like Umbasa or Praise the Sun. I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
We'll find it soon.
Yeah.
We'll all be praising the something, but we'll get there.
I think you've ruined the momentum there.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just so excited to play Dark Souls 2 some more.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think I'll be twiddling my thumbs again.
I am a bastard, aren't I?
Anyway.
Thanks everyone for listening once again.
Shut up.
Shutting up.
Bye.
Bye.